Think you know every villain in the Arkham games? Well, think again. While the big names get all the glory, there's an entire rogues gallery lurking in the shadows, quietly shaping your experience. We're diving deep into the unexpected impact of these minor antagonists. Prepare to see the Arkham games in a whole new light. What if I told you the true genius of the Arkham games narrative isn't just in Joker or Scarecrow, but in the forgotten faces? These aren't just background characters, they're subtle architects of the game's unparalleled atmosphere and narrative tension. Can you name the 5 most impactful minor villains before I reveal their secrets? Imagine stepping back into the Arkham games, but this time you noticed every chilling detail, every whispered threat from characters you never truly appreciated. This video isn't just about listing mysterious villains. It's about enriching your next playthrough by revealing how the lesser known villains profoundly deepen the game's world and story. Victor Zsasz is as crazy as they come. The asylum is definitely where he belongs. His first appearance was in Arkham Asylum, and he took an Arkham guard hostage and threatened to electrocute him. Batman was pretty much trying to stop him the whole time as he was putting on this chaotic show, but Batman does manage to defeat him. Later in the game, Victor Zsasz kidnapped Dr. Penelope Young and threatened her. However, Batman ended up rescuing her and taking Victor Zsasz out once again. I see Victor Zsasz as a perfect lunatic. Also, when the Scarecrow game glitch happens, Victor Zsasz is one of the villains that is walking him down the hallway in the asylum. He fit the game perfectly, helping with the intense and terrifying atmosphere and setting of the asylum. He came back in Arkham City, though he was captured by the Penguin, who held him in a museum display case. This didn't stop Victor Zsasz though, since he escaped to murder a group of political prisoners held by Hugo Strange. This also takes us to the Cold Call Killer, which you play through in the game, where Zsasz lured Batman by making phone calls at certain times, timing them. But Batman was able to trace the calls to his warehouse hideout. Batman gets there and takes out Zsasz, freeing the hostages and trapping Victor Zsasz in one of his own cages. This side mission does a great job showing the psycho Zsasz is, even mentioning in a call to Batman, "I have a very special game for you." After Batman beat him and put him in one of his own cages, it's put an end from seeing any more of Victor Zsasz as of now. He believes when he's taking people's lives, he's helping them, he's doing them a favor, and he keeps track of every life that he takes. This is just another great example of how twisted Batman villains are. Zsasz is so unpredictable and has somehow convinced himself to believe these things. So of course, he's a villain you can never trust. He never appeared in Arkham Knight. Of course, it would have been nice to see him make an appearance in the game, but he wasn't one of the villains that even got a side mission. Of course, there's still a chance that he could appear in future possible Arkham games, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was to happen. Calendar Man. He appeared in Arkham City. You could find him in a cell where he would speak to Batman. He's the killer that kills on holidays, but he was trapped in the cell, so he wasn't free to commit crimes. He wasn't one of the villains Batman was going after in the main story, or even in any side missions, because he was always just in the cell. We don't get to see Calendar Man that much in media, so of course it would have been nice to see him get used a lot more in the main story, or even get his own side mission, but this wasn't the case. They could have at least, maybe in Arkham Knight, have gave him a side mission, but it seems they weren't thinking much about his character and didn't really want to do much with him, and that wasn't the main focus. He wasn't a villain they were too interested in using. He was so mysterious and creepy, and at the same time it felt like his character had so much potential in the Arkham games, but he was never focused on and underused. Since they chose to barely use him at all, this led to him just not being a very popular Arkham villain. It makes a lot of sense, but it's kind of unfortunate, because even outside of the Arkham games, you just don't see his character that in depth often. Usually just talking to Batman in the cell. I can understand them wanting to include him in Arkham City and wanting it to be known that he exists within the Arkham universe and for us to see him. However, However, I still feel like they should have done more with his character, could have done something to make him stand out, or give us something new for his character. He's heavily interested in dates and calendars, since obviously he's the killer that kills on holidays, but if they were using dates and things happening at certain times and days in the Arkham games, it could be a great way to involve his character, make him have some sort of connection with what's going on. He's another twisted, crazy villain, like many of Batman's. He happens to be one of the ones that is just so underused and that we always never get much from. So for once, hopefully maybe in future Arkham games, we get to see a lot more of his character. We don't see the same overused way with him just talking to Batman in the cell. There even being an interesting storyline going on with his character, either in the main story or just for a side mission. And try to make a new popular villain out of Calendar Man. Killer Moth. He first was seen included in Arkham Asylum because he has a profile in the game. We never see him actually make an appearance in the game, though they still decided to include his profile. And you can find an Easter egg in Arkham Asylum of someone being taken out and seems to be trapped in Killer Moth's cocoons from his cocoon gun. He was also mentioned in Arkham Knight because when you play the Red Hood DLC, you can hear a thug mention Killer Moth was taken out, and then another time another thug says Red Hood was the one who took out Killer Moth. So it seems that we never really got to see him in the Arkham games or included too much at all, but there's just hints of him existing within the universe. He's desperate for attention. Outside of the Arkham games, he's always defeated by Batman. I'm sure he would have still wanted to go after Batman in the Arkham games, but it seems the Red Hood managed to just take him out, which shows that once again, even in the Arkham games, he wouldn't have been that big of a threat. He wants to be respected and taken seriously as a threat, obsessed and greedy for what he wants. This doesn't matter though, because him being like this never really benefits him. So in the Arkham games, it would have been nice to see his character, since he's just not a very popular Batman villain. Most people won't know him very well, or a lot of people haven't even heard of who he is. Sure, they mentioned him in the Arkham games some way, letting it be known that he exists. I feel like if we get more Arkham games though, his character will be shown or just hinted at even more. Since there's all these small hints, maybe we'll even get a DLC in a future game with Red Hood where we see him take out Killer Moth. However, we could also even see Killer Moth in the main story of a future Arkham game, or a side mission like a lot of the other less popular, more underrated Batman villains, especially like how they did those side missions in Arkham Knight. For a long time, I did not really know anything about Killer Moth except for him being in the Lego Batman games. So I knew who he was and how he looked like, knew that he was a Batman villain. And until recently, I didn't even know that he even existed in the Arkham games, was even hinted at, was even mentioned, was even made clear that he was a part of it, until I was told by someone in the comments and I looked further into it. I feel like Killer Moth though has a very cool character design, a very unique one. He kind of reminds me of Firefly, but he's a little bit different. I actually prefer Killer Moth's character design over Firefly's, and just overall, Killer Moth is supposed to be in a way kind of opposite to Batman, the evil version of Batman in some ways. He's a costumed protector of criminals instead of the citizens of Gotham. It would be cool to see his character get explored and shown in depth through the Arkham games in the future. Plus, we never really ever see Killer Moth even explained and shown in media that much either. I'm not the biggest Killer Moth fan, but I can understand any Killer Moth fan being kind of frustrated with how the character has been handled. Now in the near future, things might change for his character. I'm open to seeing more of him. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Out of these three Batman villains, which do you think is the least popular in the Arkham games? I would have to say Killer Moth. Do you think all these characters deserve better in the games and should be shown more? Do you believe that they're all underrated? Which one of these villains do you like the most? Guys, remember to subscribe and to turn on notifications. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in another Cosmic Chaos video. Bye!